Our US stock market just lost 1.5 trillion with a T in a single day. Look, that's not just a bad day. That's a massive fire alarm in your office building. Wall Street literally just got wiped out. Over 1.5 trillion was wiped out from US stocks in one session, one of the largest one-day losses in history. Meanwhile, China's CATL now controls about 38% of the world's EV battery market. They just keep giving out more innovations. Look at that 500 plus km, which charges in 5 minutes. That's leaving our American companies far behind, by the way. TSMC's chip fab in China earned $26 billion in profit last year, while its new Arizona plant lost $14.3 billion just trying to play catch up. Our US dollar index is plunging to lows we haven't seen in years. At this point, our greenback supremacy is gone, or close to it. We have economists warning that recession risks are spiking. The writing is on the wall. And guess what? During the stock crash, about 60 billion flowed into crypto markets instead of staying in US assets. Money is literally voting against our US financial system. Let's talk about hidden havens. Write this down. The ultra rich are stashing wealth in hidden tax havens. Individuals have basically put away 8.7 trillion offshore, quietly moving money far away from Uncle Sam's reach in places like Malaysia. Still thinking investing in China and crypto is too risky? What if the big risk is ignoring them? The old playbook said, stick with the US. But look at these numbers. Money is fleeing the West, rushing east and into digital assets. The people who warned you away from China and crypto could be actually the very ones profiting from this disruption. Look, guys, this is a once-in-a-generation economic disruption happening at this point. You could either adopt or just get left behind. Don't let your fear make you freeze when opportunity is knocking. Join my trading community to learn how we're actually helping people.
Shalom. First and foremost, all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing salutations, as always, to the hopefully elect and tabernacle of David out there listening, learning, keeping the faith and diligence of our Lord Yahushai. So it ain't looking good for America. This place is any day now going to collapse. And that's evident by things going up, prices of everything going up around you, trade, global trade breaking down, jobs being lost. Just look at the environment that we're in. It's clear that this place is ripe for collapse. And this is exactly what the elites want. All right. But even as tumultuous and as chaotic as the times that we're in, you still have people such as this guy right here that are advocating for investing in digital assets such as crypto. Right now, I believe crypto, especially Bitcoin, today just hit an all-time high. Well, yesterday it was at an all-time low. So these, the stock market is up and down. Things fluctuate. So that's why you got to watch the stocks and see when is the best time to sell. But overall, this whole system is about to crash. So whatever you invested in, you're going to lose it anyway. All right, because once all these nations completely stop the use of the dollar, which they're in the process of doing, demand for the use of the dollar worldwide is going to cease to exist. And once those dollars that were circulating overseas in these, U.S. bonds that, countries such as China and Japan possess, once those bonds sell off and there's no one holding U.S. debt, well, guess what? Those dollars are going to come back home. And what's going to happen is it's going to be a oversaturation in the market. You know what I'm saying? Which it already is, but it's going to get to a point to where it's going to be hyperinflation. You see? It's going to get to the point where it's going to be so many dollars out here circulating that there's not going to be enough demand for it, right, globally. So you're gonna have a oversaturation of dollars in America. Jobs are lost, and there's no value behind the money. So what you gonna have in America is basically Venezuela, all right, to where the Venezuelan Bolivar, people out there making origamis out of the Venezuelan Bolivar. You know what I'm saying? They're literally wiping their behind with the money because it has no value. You see? So the same thing is coming to America. Now, let's go to this article, right? Second Peter, let's go to Second Peter chapter 3. Start off right here. Second Peter chapter 3 and verse 3. It says, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. So this is what you have people out here saying. You have a lot of people that don't believe that America is going to fall. All right. You have people that still have faith in the stock market. They still have faith in gold and silver. They have faith in everything else other than Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right. So they don't believe that America is ever going to, collapse as the ancient empires did, because, this is the glory of all kingdoms. People believe in America, as this, untouchable, place of prosperity. You see what I'm saying? But right now, the Lord is shaking things up to where people have to see it. You can no longer ignore the fact that America is falling. But nonetheless, you still have these financial prognosticators, these, wealthy individuals that have done well for themselves. They still have an optimistic outlook that, look, if we just hang on to Bitcoin and these different assets that we have, then we'll be good in the long run. You see, but they fail to realize that the end of America is here. It's not coming. It's here. It's only a matter of time before everything just falls away. All right. Verse 5. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of Yahweh the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men, which is what we're fastly approaching. Okay, the destruction of the ungodly. All right. And before that happens, America must first go down. So when you go to this article right here, gold hits record high. Now, yesterday, gold hit a record high, but today, Trump came out and said that he's going to soften the tariffs. So now the stock market has went back up, which goes to show you that the stock market is not something stable. It's not something that you can really put your faith in like that. It's like gambling. You know what I'm saying? Like you put some money in and you got to watch how the markets fluctuate to know when is the best time to sell, or if it's not that profitable to, sell your stocks, to just keep it in there and just hope that it gets to an all-time high, then you sell, right? So yesterday, gold hit an all-time high, I think about 3,000 something for an ounce. Right now, today, gold has gone down. It's not at a record high anymore. And see, the reason why Trump continues to play with the tariffs, like one moment he'll put tariffs on, then the next minute he'll be like, oh, we're going to delay it and this and that, is because they're really gauging the sentiment of the people. And ultimately, they want to get people to a point to where they become so fearful that they're willing to sell all of their assets that they have just in order to stay afloat. So with this gold price going up and down, that's them playing with the people, man. Okay, because in just one word, gold can go back down to where it's affordable, or if he announces more new tariffs, then the price of it is going to go up, because obviously with tariffs in place, the value of the US dollar is going to go down, because the price of global trade and trade stopping is pretty much at the forefront now. Okay. So now, yesterday, when gold hit an all-time high, people was out there selling off all their gold, taking in, they they precious jewelry, you know what I'm saying, family heirloom jewelry that they done had for years. You know what I'm saying, taking it in, selling it, and getting the highest price that they can get for that gold. All right, well, that's nothing more than a play of the devil to get you to give up your true valuable assets so that he can have it. Okay, because when the dollar crashes, I mean, gold is going to be good for a little while, but in the end, you know, as it says in Ezekiel the 7th chapter, and we'll get it, that their gold and silver shall not be able to save them. Okay, so yeah, like, you know, with the initial collapse, gold and silver might be good for bartering, but at a certain point, even gold and silver is not going to be able to save you, because the supplies and commodities that people have at a certain point, it's going to run out. All right, so then you're going to get to a point where people turn into animals and they're going to start looting. You know what I'm saying? People going to go around and you know, they're going to take whatever that they can get their hands on. Right, so gold hits record high, but here is why that might be a trap. Let's tap into this a little bit. It says gold's been on a tear and it has made a lot of investors feel real smart lately. But if you're holding on to that shiny metal like it's the only life raft in the ocean, you might want to double check the horizon, because the tide might just be turning. Gold prices have exploded in 25, touching almost 3,500 an ounce like it was nothing. Why fear? The S&P 500, which is the stocks, has been getting tossed around, down about 6% year to date. And every time things get sketchy, China tariffs, recession whispers, Fed drama, investors run to gold. But here's the thing no one's saying out loud. Gold may have run too far, too fast. All right, now pay attention right here. It says, let me get to the point. Yeah. It says, want a real pulse on where gold is headed? Watch the miners. Barrick Gold and Newmont have both started to slip lately. That's telling. These companies thrive when gold's run is healthy and has legs. When their stocks lag, even as gold hovers near record highs, it smells like caution. Some analysts are still pounding the table, calling for $4,000, I guess, an ounce gold by next year. But others are warning that gold has become too crowded too fast. Yeah, because now seeing that the dollar is going under, that it's inevitable to crash, everybody's turning to real hard assets. Everybody's buying up gold and silver. You see? So now the market for gold and silver is now oversaturated, man. All right? And this is why eventually even gold is you know, even though gold and silver is real money, even that's why you know, eventually gold is not really going to do you any good in the grand scheme of things, because in a situation where everybody has gold, it's like it's not really going to be worth anything. You see what I'm saying? That's why I said it has become too crowded too fast. And here's a big one. Central banks have been huge gold buyers recently, but if inflation cools or geopolitical tensions ease, that demand could dry up. All right, so gold and silver even now is very volatile. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's up one moment, then the next minute, you know, then it goes down. Uh, on April 22nd, something weird happened. The SPDR gold ETF, the go-to way to ride gold prices, saw one of its biggest volume dumps in years. We're talking 35 million shares traded, and that's a lot of investors saying I'm out. Meanwhile, the S&P 500, it rallied. That kind of divergence doesn't happen by accident. When people start bailing on gold and buying stocks at the same time, it's usually the start of a new narrative. You see? So what is this new narrative that's going to come about? Well, it's going to be the end of the dollar and the end of buying into digital assets such as Bitcoin, you know, such as you know, other cryptocurrencies, you know what I'm saying? Which that's really the future of where they're going, because, you know, as we always say, all roads lead to the MOTB. So with all these digital assets coming about, they're pushing people, forcing people in a direction to pretty much become accustomed to doing things without tangible assets. Everything's going to be digital. It's going to be on a chip, and you're going to be connected to the grid. You see? Let's go to Ezekiel, the 7th chapter. Ezekiel chapter 7 and about 18. Ezekiel chapter 7. We'll start at 17. All hands shall be feeble, and all knees shall be weak as water. They shall also gird themselves with sackcloth, and horror shall cover them, and shame shall be upon all faces, and baldness upon all their heads. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. All right, now a lot of people don't know this, right? But back in the 1930s, during the FDR regime, they actually passed a law that pretty much said that whoever had over, I'm trying to remember what the exact amount of gold was, because they said that you couldn't have over a certain amount of gold bullion, right? So that pretty much, and anybody that had, I think it was like $20. Like if you had over $20 of gold in your possession, then you had to turn it in to the federal government. And this is back in the 1930s. And if you didn't, then they would fine you or you would face jail time. You see? So that was done back in the 1930s during the Great Depression. Why? Because they didn't want people to have real money on their hands. Okay? They wanted to give you their, Federal Reserve note, which really, has no value. And they take the real assets. Because, you see, Esau understands what real money is. You know what I'm saying? A person, your average Babylonian will think that they, is really doing something if they got 50K inside their bank account. You know what I'm saying? But Esau's laughing at you because he has 100,000 millions of dollars worth of actual gold. All right, but when the scriptures say that their gold shall be removed, guess what? Esau can come and take your gold from you. You see? So people think that they're gonna hoard up all this gold and silver. They can pass a law just like they did in the 1930s and force you to give it up. You see what I'm saying? And more than likely, that's what's going to happen because it's all going to be from Yahweh Bashmi Shai. All right, reading on, verse 19, they shall cast their silver in the streets and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. Right, and that's why, I said that, look, even to a certain point, gold and silver is not even going to be no good to trade with. You know what I'm saying? Because the supplies that people have are going to run out at a certain point. You see what I'm saying? That's why it says they shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels. So you're not even going to be able to give gold to get a little bit of food because it's not going to be there. You see what I'm saying? Bartering at a certain point is going to break down. People just going to go crazy. People are going to lose it. Then that's when the mark is going to come into the equation and people are going to take that to have some sort of peace and safety, to have some sort of comfort. But the scriptures say these things are going to happen because why? It is the stumbling block of their iniquity. Okay, meaning that these people have trusted in silver and gold. They have made these things, money, in this case, the Federal Reserve, and even gold and silver. People have made these things idols. People have made these things gods unto themselves to where they don't trust in Yahweh Bashmi Shai to provide for them. You know what I'm saying? They don't trust in the Lord to guide them. You know what I'm saying? They look to their money for comfort. You know what I'm saying? They look to the system to take care of them. All right. So the Lord is going to be like, hey, look, if this is what you trust in, let's see if this is going to save you in the day of all hell breaking loose. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people going to find out in that day, as it says here, okay, that they shall not be able to satisfy their souls. Gold is not going to satisfy you. Silver is not going to satisfy you. But guess what? Those that have this precious wisdom and knowledge of the scriptures, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Shai, look, we going to have the real true treasure in that day, man. See, because we're going to have understanding of what's going on. And we going to know the names to call on to receive mercy in that day. You know what I'm saying? These people out here, they completely through. They don't know what's going on And when all hell breaks loose, they're going to resort to carnality. Okay, which carnality leads to death, man. All right, but abiding in the spirit leads to life. You know what I'm saying? So these are the days that we're coming into. So all this, gold going up and going down, is all a snare to get these people caught up, to give up their assets. Or if they don't give it up, Esau gonna come take it from you anyways. You see what I'm saying? Then when you go here, right? This is Dabu. Okay, now Trump is supposed to be going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is actually there, which we know it ain't no damn gold in Fort Knox. It ain't been no gold in Fort Knox for years, you know what I'm saying? But Trump is gonna go there, and I think he said if the gold isn't in Fort Knox, that it's gonna be very bad, whatever that means. But we know that there's no gold inside Fort Knox. Which this whole Fort Knox and the gold, these devils know it ain't nothing there. But they're just putting it out there to be like, see, well, we don't even have gold within Fort Knox. So this dollar really has no value, which, if you're in the know, you already know that. But the average Babylonian, they have no clue what's going on. See, this is why it's going to hit them so profoundly. So it's going to be like, damn, there's no gold within Fort Knox. So what assets do we really have? you know? So we're in a time where a lot of things are about to be revealed, and people's whole reality is being shaken up right now with these tariffs, with the cost of living going up, people losing their jobs, people losing their mental health. There's no morale within America no more. And this is the Lord breaking down Babylon the Great, called Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai. So let's check out Dabu real quick.
What's up, guys? Dabu7 checking back in with you. A few things to talk about. We got the economy getting hit hard. Every couple days, we're seeing trillions getting ripped off the top of the stock market, and this in turn is taking chunks out of people's 401ks. And this tariff war looks to just keep on heating up.
That's another thing too. The fact that these stocks continue to plummet, people are losing money in their 401ks, and a 401k is basically an investment for retirement. You see? So the fact that people's retirement is gone because the stocks are going down, that right there alone shows you that there's really no point in trusting in this place. You see? You got a 401k, you putting all this money into it, and at the end of the day, it's all going to turn out to be nothing. You see? It's all vanity, man. This is why it's better to trust in the Lord than to trust in men, because Esau, he's taken away everything that you've worked for, that you've invested in this world. And when you have nothing left, what are you gonna have? What kind of hope are you gonna be able to confide in? Nothing. You ain't gonna have nothing to fall back on. You see, and that's the whole thing about it. This is why the Lord is setting these things up as a snare for these people to take them out.
And the people are paying the price for this, by and large. Even if you look over into China, the people there are freaked out because they know that this is hurting them and the people more than anything. Same thing's happening here. Hopefully people are starting to wake up and see that when it comes to tariffs, it's we the people that pay the price for that. So Trump is obviously here to reset this whole thing. He is doing just that. He has said it out loud.
And ain't that what we've been telling you? That's the whole point of why these tariffs were put in place in the first place. All right? Crash America, crash the global markets. And when things crash, because Trump has invested billions of dollars into this AI, into the chips, into, robotics and things like that. Why? Because they're about to reset everything, and they're going to replace you. This is why there's no more need for people to really have jobs like that. Why? Because you're going to be in a 15-minute city. You're going to receive universal basic income. So there's no need for you to make a job making 70, 80, over 100K a year. And on top of that, your wage is not really going to matter because the dollar is going to collapse. So there's no escape from what's coming. This is inevitable.
And even the headlines are out there hinting at the same thing. He is here to reset the global economy. I think in turn, what this means is that not only is the economy going to get reset, but we've been seeing jobs wiped out left and right. I think we're going to continue to see that. And our replacements are here. Robots, AI, all that, it's here. Unfortunately, it's the truth. It's the world we live in. It's where we're at. And it looks like they don't have a need for us anymore, a use for us anymore.
Exactly. They don't have a use for these people no more, man. See, this is why with these rhetoric coming out from the WHO that there's a new pandemic that's on the way. And Esau been inside the lab cooking up stuff, man. So he about to release it out here. He about to start activating particular frequencies. It's gonna activate within those that got the serpent venom some years ago. So a lot of people are about to start getting knocked off. You know, and personally, I've been hearing of a lot of death recently, man. You know, one of my coworkers, one of his family members just died. You know what I'm saying? Another somebody else told me the other day that somebody close to them died. I've just been hearing about a whole lot of death recently, and I'm like, hey, that's the judgment of a Yahweh Bashmi Shai, man. All right, but again, it speaks to the fact that something is going on to where these people are just dropping dead all of a sudden, man. People's health is deteriorating rapidly, you know. But yeah, they don't need you no more. All right, Esau don't need you to build up his kingdom because now it's come to the point where he has it to where he wants it. Now he's about to knock off what they call the goyim, the useless eaters, and they're gonna replace you with AI and robotics. And this has been the plan all along, but they had to get here gradually. You see, so people out there processing to get their job back and I got rights and this and that. Very soon, you ain't about to have no rights, right? Really, you don't have any rights. You know what I'm saying? Because they violate your rights every single day, you know? But it's about to be even more in your face and profound once they done with everything. But yeah, get ready for mass death, as the scriptures say in 2nd Ezra, the 5th chapter, that many shall be taken in a great number. You know what I'm saying? So great death is about to envelop the earth, you know? The scriptures say in what is that, 2nd Ezra 16, that the dead shall be cast out as dung. So you're gonna be seeing bodies laid out like dog like dog poop, man. You're just gonna be there. Nobody's gonna regard it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just gonna be walking by dead bodies, man. That's how it's gonna be out here. That's how much death is about to be in the earth.
I suspect we're going to see some really big events, but economically, I'm suspecting there's going to be an event to hold the dollar hostage. And the big question here connected to that is where's all the gold? Where's the gold at? Is it in the vaults? No, they keep on blowing smoke and
No, and the gold is with the elite bankers. All right. That's where your gold is at, man. You see? They have all the assets in their possession because they listen, the day is gonna come where they're gonna tell these Wall Street investors, all right, the ones that have the inside scoop, they're gonna tell them, look, sell all your assets now, sell your investments because we about to pull the plug on this thing. You see? And when you gonna want your money to take your money out them banks, you ain't gonna be able to get it. All right, watch Zero Day on Netflix, man. That these devils are telegraphing what's about to happen before it happens. All right, Klaus Schwab himself said we must prepare for an angrier world. So people are very angry already. They're depressed. They have no hope. And once these devils pull the plug on the system, they ain't gonna have nothing left. People just gonna crash out completely. It's gonna be anarchy in these streets as we always go into, man. It's really about to get very bad out here. All right, worse than what you ever seen. We're in the midst of perilous times, man. Very dangerous times.
stringing things along just like they are with the Epstein files and everything else. It's ridiculous. But it's a big, big question. And we need to know because, as I talked about on the live show, the results take us down two different paths. If the gold is there, then it's there, right? We push on, nothing changes. But if it's not there, it opens up an avenue that's not good for the people, because they would instantly say the people responsible for stealing it are all dead and gone. And then they're going to say that we need your gold, everything but your wedding rings.
Exactly. And that's the spirit. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't even watch it this far. But that's the spirit, man. All right. They're gonna say we need your goal. And that's the reference I made to that 1930, what FDR did in the 1930s, to where they said, look, anybody that got over $20 worth of gold bullion, you gotta give it to the federal government. Or else you're gonna be jailed, or we're gonna fine you $10,000. That's what it's gonna be. And no doubt, in this time, Esau's gonna make the same decree, you know, or he just gonna go house to house, and he gonna come in and he gonna take it from you. You see, these are the times that we're in, man. So gold and silver, it's not gonna do you no good in the long run. All right, that's the point. For you Jakes, for you blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans out there, you better off putting your trust in Yahweh Bashmel Shai. Okay, because you know what I'm saying, you ain't gonna need no gold, you ain't gonna need no silver, you know. You ain't gonna need guns, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that you're wicked if you have these things, but at the end of the day, the Lord is going to sustain you through it all right? Because these things can be taken from you, man. You know, even if you have food, that can be taken from you if the Lord is not with you. So what's better, to trust in vanity, material possessions, or is it better to trust in the Lord that can ensure that whatever you do have, that it's for your benefit and not for your demise?
We need your silver. We need to take it back in to save the economy. So to be good patriots, everyone's going to have to do that. See, that's my fear. If the gold's missing, they're going to make a move to try to take whatever gold they can get their hands on. If that's the case, let's hope that's not the case. But it's one of the two. And there's a big question, is it there? We shouldn't have to wonder. This should be a known thing any time of the day. There should be live cameras like on that vault that anyone can go and look at and see that it's there or something. Something. Instead of the smoke and mirrors. But Trump, no doubt about it, is here to reset this global economy. And it's the entire thing. It's what it's designed to do. That seems to be his job. He's been picked to do it, and he's put it into motion. So people that are already feeling the pain out there, I hate to say it, but there's probably more to come. It looks like this thing's just getting started. But join me on the live streams, man, where I break this down further into greater detail.
All right, so you get the point from Dabu. Then when you go here, the economic damage from Trump's tariffs is piling up. Okay? So this place ain't got that much longer left to be standing, man. All right, the Lord is breaking Babylon the Great down. London, businesses in Germany and Britain produced less this month amid worries about President Donald Trump's near universal tariffs. In another sign that the global damage from his import levies is adding up, closely watched surveys of purchasing managers showed Wednesday that private sector output contracted in Germany, Europe's biggest economy, and the United Kingdom. Tariff concerns and uncertainty weighed on business confidence and demand. S&P Global and Hamburg Commercial Bank, which published a survey of German companies, said in a news release. Let's get it says the downturn is probably the result of multiple forces, said economists at Berenberg, a bank. Beyond international headwinds such as the tariff-related uncertainty, this likely also reflects the broad-based domestic economic weakness which a lot of these nations are going through now because of just the collapse in global trade, period. Right? They wrote in a note, early data already points to a slump in global trade in the face of Trump's import taxes. South Korea's Customs Service reported that exports for the first 20 days of April declined 5.2% compared with the same period last year. That singular data point is a key bellwether for where trade is heading. All right? So it ain't looking good. On Tuesday, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, downgraded its economic growth forecast for numerous countries, including the US, Germany, and the UK, and joined a chorus of warnings from economists and business leaders about economic damage from US tariffs. The DC based institution said Trump's unpredictable tariff policy and countermeasures by America's trading partners will likely deal a heavy blow to economies worldwide. And that's the point, okay, which is what the purpose of all this is all about. Like Dabu just said, that's the point of all of what Trump came in to do. See, Trump came in to destroy this current financial world order. And I went into a lesson yesterday that the IMF and the World Bank, they're coming to convene in DC, I believe is this week, to talk about the future of the economic expenditure, because global trade is breaking down. The strength of the dollar is not what it used to be. So they're about to implement a replacement, which is going to be digital. All right. So let's go to Revelation 18. Because look, Babylon is over with. All right. Babylon the Great is over. Babylon is fallen. Revelation 18:1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Right? So now what's going to happen? Now the merchants are going to wax poor, okay, because they have benefited off of the wickedness of Babylon the Great. All these nations that were joined to Babylon and they became rich off of the backs of the Israelites. This is the time for their judgment. This is where all these nations are going down. All right. But these nations, Esau believed that this quote unquote permanent solution of a digital currency, digital worldwide currency, okay, which all nations are going to be connected to. Because remember, this is the new Tower of Babel that's being erected here. And it's all predicated in rebellion towards Salaki, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right? Because when you read Psalms, the 83rd chapter, it tells you all the enemies of the Lord, all these nations that came together to conspire against, taking us away from being a nation. So all these nations, what I'm saying, they were with America in destroying the Israelites and crucifying our Lord Yahweh Shai. You know what I'm saying? Just pushing lies all over the earth. And they benefited, off of, our labor. Okay, but now the Lord is changing, is flipping the script to now where they wax rich off America. Now they about to wax poor. Now the merchants are mourning. The inhabitants of Magtesh are about to lose it all. You see? Yeah, let's close out in Psalms chapter 37. Because ultimately we have to understand, right, that this is biblical prophecy, so it's inevitable to happen. There is no, running away from it, all right? This is something that we're going to have to deal with, all right, because we're in the midst of Babylon the Great, all right? So we're going to be in the midst of all this confusion and in the midst of all this chaos. But the thing is, we're going to have Yahweh Bashem Yahushua with us to be able to guide us, give us comfort, and ultimately provide for us in the day of evil. All right, and the scriptures say that my servants shall eat. While the rest of these people, they're going to be confounded. They're going to be out here, having to do some dirty deeds, just to get a meal. All right. A lot of these people is going to starve to death. The scriptures speak about that as well. How this famine is going to overcome people, man. How, people are going to be in so much tribulation that they're going to desire to go back to the spirit world. All right. But this is Psalms 37:1. It says, fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. You see that? So if you produce forth good works, all right, which is predicated upon walking in the spirit, then guess what? The Lord is going to be with you, man. As it says here, verily thou shalt be fed. So you're going to eat. You ain't going to have to worry about where you're going to get your food from, starving to death, man. No. If you do what is pleasing to Yahweh Bashmil Shai, the Lord is going to take care of you. All right, as he already is, man. The Lord is already taking care of us. So how much more in the day of evil? Okay, this is why faith is so important, because you really have to believe this. All right, but if you're so caught up in the affairs of this life and worried about how I'm gonna do this and that, then you put in, then you're setting your heart, you're setting your cares on the affairs of this life and not upon trusting and waiting upon the Lord. All right, and receiving His promises. You know what I'm saying? Verse 4: Delight thyself also in the Lord, and He shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Let's go down to verse 19. Psalm 37:19. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. Who is talking about? It's talking about the elect. All right, the faithful. The faithful are gonna have substance in the time of famine, in the time of chaos. You see? But what's going to happen to those that trust not in the Lord? What's going to happen to those that defy and blaspheme the Lord? Verse 20, but the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. All right, so hey, all the wicked is going to be consumed, man. See, they all going to be burnt up, and it's pretty much over, man. And people know that it's over. They're just holding on to some small glimmer of hope that they might have. But once these people lose their job, that's when everything gonna go out the window. Psalm 37:25, I've been young and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. All right, so what is it saying here? All right, this is saying that the Lord is always going to take care of, always going to look out for those that are faithful, always going to look out for those that have their heart inclined towards Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. He is merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good and dwell forevermore. All right, so that's the point, man. Depart from evil and do good. All right, do what is pleasing unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, so that you don't have to suffer through these judgments that are coming on the earth. Because eventually what's going to happen when you go to 2nd Ezra 15, and this is a very scary time. 2nd Ezra 15 and 15 says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, uprising, civil war, protests, all these things we're seeing, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Complete anarchy, no law and order. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Right? Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Are you hearing what the scriptures are saying? See, this is a very scary thing to read if you're not in the spirit, man. All right? Like the average American would read this and be terrified. Like the Bible speaks about it. Yes. These things feature prominently in last days prophecy, which we're in the midst of. All right, so again, this is inevitable. But the key is to repent and do good, return to Yahweh Bashmel Shai, so that you can receive mercy in these times. Okay, that's the message, man. Repent or die. So with that, I'm going to end it right there. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying through the Rakah Kadash. Call her Lord Yahweh Bashmel Shai, Bashem Rakah Kadash. And until next time, Lord willing, shalom to the elect. On to the